everyone. I hope you can hear me. Today I wanted to take you through the hormones of the female reproductive tract. There are a number, so I just hope you'll follow with me. So we have work at the brain level, at the hypothalamus, somewhere we call the arcuate nucleus. It's close to the pituitary, and you'll see why that's important, because there's a hormone there produced that's called GnRH. So this GnRH in full is gonadotropin releasing hormone, which then the hormone is taken by vessels to the anterior pituitary gland. So remember, the hypothalamus is the productive, the neuroendocrine engine of the body. So it brings it to the pituitary. So the pituitary, at the anterior pituitary, we have different types of cells. I'm only going to focus on the basophilic or the beta cells, because that's where gonadotropins, which is where the female reproductive tract is involved, is released. So the beta cells produce gonadotropins. We have the follicular stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone. But there are also a couple of things that are produced. We have the thyroid stimulating hormone, the adrenocorticotropin releasing hormone, and the prolactin. I thought this would be important to mention because they actually affect the menstrual system quite a bit. One, the TRH, or the hormone by the hypothalamus that triggers the TSH to be released, is a potent prolactin releasing factor. Now, prolactin alters the pulsatility of GnRH. So because it alters the pulsatility of GnRH, it's actually an inhibitor to GnRH, and therefore when this is high, usually this too will be blocked. Okay, that will be important in infertility or even menstrual disorders. So you see, the thyroid stimulating hormone, or TRH, is a potent prolactin releasing factor, and because of that, if you have hypothyroidism, then you'll have high prolactin, because the negative feedback will be that TSH needs to be produced, and when TSH is high, prolactin is high, and FSH, LH will be inhibited. Okay. Another one is ACTH, which is adrenocorticotropic.
High prolactin, hypothyroidism, excessive stress like high exercise, or anorexia affect your menstrual cycle for this reason.
CRH produced from the hypothalamus. Actually, it's the engine of the body. And then from there, you'll have this. When this is high, this is blocked. Okay. The other thing is when cortisol is high, cortisol is what you get from this whole pathway. This is cortisol releasing hormone. So when cortisol is high, for example, like when you're stressed, then it will still also affect the GnRH and lower it. So people with Cushing syndromes, this is why they end up with menstrual disorders or amenorrhea. So this is a bit simple. Again, we mentioned it has to be released in a pulsatile manner with a certain tone, amplitude, and frequency. So I'm not going to go through this. I just wanted to show you that catecholamines, which is the stress hormones, that's adrenaline or epinephrine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, and dopamine, can actually affect your periods because of a negative feedback mechanism that is there. Okay. It's the same method that cortisol also implies. Endorphins, which is a feel-good hormones, also can affect your periods because of the same thing. And then we have the inhibins, follicular, statin, and activin. This I will discuss in the ovary, and these are other things that may not be so important for you as a patient. Yeah, but they're important to know that the body can actually regulate itself. So I'm going to go to the ovary, which is where the main work is done. So this is my miniature ovary. Down here we have the serosa. Yeah, serosa, sorry, that's not a double S. Then we have the stroma. Inside the stroma follicles. Okay, so this is a primordial follicle. These ones are made before you're born if you're female, and they're usually rescued by FSH. And then FSH is a follicular stimulating hormone we've just discussed. And then when they're rescued, they start growing in this manner. So when a primordial follicle is rescued, it becomes an antral follicle, which means it just gets this lining out here, a thicker lining, and this granulosa cells. So these are two type of cells that are there in the primordial, rather in the antral follicle, that then becomes a dominant follicle that then releases this egg to be fertilized eventually. Okay, so the purpose of these two cells is to create hormones. So this cell out here is called the thicker cell, and this cell in here is called the granulosa cell. So the thicker cell produces androgens. Androgens are testosterone and androstenedione, something like that. And this goes into the granulosa cells, and it is converted to estrogen or estradiol. So that's on the follicular phase. Then once you cross over, the LH surges because of high estrogen. It's another long story. Because of high estrogen, and then ovulation occurs. So at this point is when ovulation occurs. And for ovulation to occur, there's a certain level of estrogen that needs to have been created. Nonetheless, the egg is extruded outwards in this manner, and whatever cells remain are called a corpus luteum. This is a cyst that we usually see after ovulation. This corpus luteum has these cells that now become luteinized, the granulosa cells, and then the thicker cells as well. So these thicker cells, or rather these luteinized granulosa cells here, now start producing progesterone. Okay, so you have your androgens from here that go here, and then they aromatize to estrogen, as we saw prior in the luteal phase. But the other thing is that when the egg is extruded from the blood, they're able to get something we call LDL, the good it's called the good what? The good fat. So that fat is then converted to by some processes to progesterone. So that progesterone is what maintains the second phase of the menstrual cycle, and after that it's actually what supports the pregnancy in this corpus luteum for the first 12 weeks. So if at all there's no pregnancy, then this will shrink, and then you will have a withdrawal of both estrogen, remember from out here, and progesterone, and then you will have your flow. Okay, so the estrogen produced here is very important. It's the one that produces the secondary sexual characteristics in puberty. It's the same one that helps support the menstrual cycle. It's the same one that is able to work on bone and all these things, and it's the one that also gets depleted towards menopause. Progesterone supports pregnancy. It also has very many features to do in the vagina, the cervix, and what have you, things that I can explain later if you guys are interested. Yeah, hope you learned something.